Please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you very much. My name is Diane Sparks. I will be speaking with regard to the letter from the Mayor of Gibson to Randine Neal. The Mayor of Gibson and Sunshine Coast Ferry Advisory Committee recently made an important point in a letter to Randine Neal. Ferry service has not kept pace with growth. Powell River to Vancouver's route, contractually minimal, has changed little since 2003. While the Southern Sunshine Coast population has grown approximately 29%, visitor spending has risen from 77.6 million in 2007 to 256 million in 2024. That's about 230%. Tourism is vital to our economy, but residents should not be unable to get home or reach essential appointments because their only transportation route is full. For Powell River, the ferry is our highway. At our town hall meeting, residents raised serious concerns about motorcycle access, having to purchase reservations to ensure travel for medical appointments, the additional cost of reservations, residents commuting to jobs on Vancouver Island unable to get home, and local businesses losing customers because of ferry standby changes. The province is now preparing for performance term 7, beginning April 1st, 2028. If ferry service levels are going to be reassessed to reflect today's population and demand, then Powell River must be part of that conversation. And the public has spoken. More than 6,000, we have more than 6,000 people that have signed our petition now, calling for priority boarding for Powell River residents. Population has grown, tourism has grown, demand has grown, ferry policy must catch up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. To 14.2, which is the letter from the Mayor of Gibsons regarding updating Route 3, Horseshoe Bay to Langdale, service levels for performance term 7. There's staff wish to comment on the letter.
Through your worship, I would just note that it was Councillor Palm who requested this letter to come forward. So I'm thinking that he probably has some comments to speak to it. Staff do not have any comments on the letter.
Councillor Palm, would you like to comment?
Your worship, yes, I did ask when I saw this letter of our CAO Sundance to add this to tonight's agenda for discussion. I think it is an excellent letter that has been crafted by the mayor of Gibsons, pointing out the growth of our population that was previously pointed out by our speaker earlier this evening. This staffing and whatnot, and how many ferries are running on that Langdale run is up for debate, and a new term of reference will be coming, ironically, on April 1st. 2028. And that is quite ironic. Knowing the state of the Queen of Surrey, or otherwise referred to in the press as the Queen of Sorry, we are in need of another ferry on that route. And the bottleneck that exists needs to be overcome for not only the lower Sunshine Coast, but Powell River itself. And recently, Mayor, we have had 2 meetings in our community at the rec complex dealing with ferry traffic to Vancouver Island. And there are, because of the increase on reservation from 35% to 85%, that has a ripple effect on a lot of the passengers on that ferry, whether they have a motorcycle, whether they have a medical condition that they have to get to, or they just want to visit family out of town at a reasonable price, because now people are paying much more to reserve a spot on the ferry in order to travel. Now, I've dealt with ferry issues since the day I came on with this council, and the only way we got some serious traction on the issues of our ferries was through either our advisory committee with face-to-face meeting with BC Ferry personnel directly in town, or at UBCM, we were able to have a meeting with the Minister of Transportation under the Liberal government at the time, and we did manage to get new ferries. We did manage to get free passage for youth traveling on sports teams out of town through the school district taking that on out of their school district office, and kept rates reasonable. Now, what is going on in the ferry situation these days with the budgeting population and more visitors all the time needs to be addressed. And I think it should be upon council. I wish we had started up another ferry advisory internally when ours went down and they refused to come to town any further. Gibsons made a proactive stance and established their own. Good for them. We do not have that here, but we should establish something in the next term to serve this community better. We should advocate at UBCM. And a letter from us at this point in time, Your Worship, backing up Gibson's letter from the mayor and pointing out the need for better service on the Langdale run, and also follow that up with an explanation of that the citizens are not happy with the 85% reservation and the ripple effect that has had on so many. So I'm asking if council will consider having the mayor write a letter backing up the Gibsons letter to not only Randy Neal, but also the Minister of Transportation, the Honorable Mike Farnsworth.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, I'm gonna, through our CAO, is it appropriate before we finish discussion to have a motion come forward, or did that wait until our discussion is finished? And if Councillor,
I think either way would work. If someone wants to bring a motion forward and then speak to it, it's one thing. Or if council wants to respond to Councillor Palm's statements, but it's really up to the body to determine where to go with this.
okay, so Councillor Doubt, I'm going to ask Councillor Doubt to continue, and then we'll go back to Councillor Palm if he wishes to put forth.
I'm going to go with what I think the appropriate thing is as a city council is to have a motion to debate before we debate it. And I'd like to move that the mayor, or council requests that the mayor write a letter to Minister Randy Neal and the Minister of Transportation. Going to speak slowly, requesting their support in advocating for a formal reassessment of the contractual service for Route 3, Horseshoe Bay, Langdale, and the route from Earls Cove to Sultry Bay, as well as the route from Powell River to Comox, as part of the province's preparation for Performance Turn 7. If there's a seconder, I'll talk to them a little bit.
Seconded.
And I like the letter. It points out the dissatisfaction that everybody has with ferry service. Obviously, Gibson's is in a little different situation. They have their own local ferry advisory committee set up. We don't have one here. We have slightly different interests and other interests than Gibson's has, because we've got actually 3 routes that we depend on for any kind of transportation and any kind of highway to anywhere except our own city and area. And I think we should deal with that. We're talking about the reservation system, and I personally, I don't see a benefit in adjusting the reservation system. I think it's more of an added problem than it is a solution. And I don't think it's helped anybody, and it's just confused things. But I would like the mayor to write a letter to those ministers, point out that we're unhappy with the situation, and ask that all 3 of the routes that we're looking at and depend on here be considered in the performance term 7 evaluation that they say they're doing.
Great. Any further discussion on the motion? Councillor Palm.
Yes, I second Councillor Dout's motion, and we'll just add that the bottom line on the Gibsons letter is an ask of face-to-face communication with members of the BC Ferries staff in their jurisdiction, not on a screen like as what has recently transpired here, where that ask was made and there was no follow-through. That's a shame. They need to come and face the music. Thank you, Your Worship.
Mr. CAO, you had a...
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to clarify that we had got the motion correct. Councillor Dout, could you please just confirm if we're missing anything on that?
Yeah, I'd like to add the route numbers in, but I don't have the 3 route numbers all memorized. I'm sure we could find them online. I bet Councillor Alameda's got it right in front of him.
17 is to Comox, and Route 7 is Salt Tree Bay, I believe.
Okay. Councillor Isaac.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I seem to remember additional words at the end of Councillor Dout's motion. It's in the lead up to performance term 7. I think you had referenced that beginning April 1, 2028.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I could speak to the motion, I as we all have heard many frustrations with the changes to the ferry service, the reservation system, the prices, and so many of those concerns are very valid. It's impacting people's ability to travel freely around the province. I did want to add to the conversation though, because I've actually heard a lot of appreciation from young families for the new system because many of the routes are much cheaper. And they're able to plan their summer holidays, their precious summer holidays with their children to go away to visit family. And so the booking on non-high demand routes are actually substantially cheaper when you're traveling with children. And so it's more, there's more to it than that. There are many frustrations that are very valid, but that's not the whole story. I've heard from many young parents how it's been lovely for their summer planning and their wallets. Thank you.
Great. Councillor Alameda.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm totally in favor with this letter, and oh, there's a small typo on horseshoe. There we go. And I agree, conversations need to be had to improve our system, whether it's for the quantity of boats or the size of the boats or the frequency of the routes and stuff. Last year at UBCM, the CEO and a few other executives from BC Ferries was there in person. I was actually quite surprised how few councillors were actually at that session, but that gave me a chance to ask some questions, and one of those questions seemed to have led to a change. I don't know if I was fully responsible for it or not, but I'll take some credit. But to comment on some of what Councillor Isaacson said, being a family of 4 little ones, I can understand some of the frustrations that the community has had with reservations for those that don't have a credit card or easy access to a computer. It can be a little bit more challenging. But for those that have been planning trips, I can show physical evidence just from this past couple weeks, the difference it can make with reservation. In fact, just as we were having this conversation, looking at a ferry reservation for September, a round trip for one person, if reserved, is $80. That's for a round trip. And I paid $75 for one way in June. So I also believe, I could be wrong on this, I went back and read the memo that BC Ferries brought in May when they brought the new system in. I have a feeling, I'm not 100% certain, because I'll be honest, BC Ferries is not great at communication, so we definitely need a face-to-face meeting. But I believe that from that press release in May, this current system actually might just be a temporary thing for the summer. I think it was only supposed to go to mid-October. And so from my understanding, they were evaluating how they can relieve pressure on the middle routes of the day by offering advantages to travel on the morning and evening ferries. And when I last came across last week, I had a chance to speak to one of the staff members at the booth who agreed to my stance there that the afternoon sailings, due to some of the prepaids and the saver fares, was definitely a lot less congestion at the ferry terminal. And I think that's what BC Ferries was doing. Is there many places to improve? For certain. And as councillors and the future council, that's what we need to advocate for. But I think BC Ferries was attempting to try some different things to reduce congestion. Obviously room for growth, but I can comment it definitely wasn't a cash grab. So I'll be in favor of this though.
Okay, we have a motion. I'm going to call it. All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. We'll now move to